Browser rendering errors. Now these are a little bit harder to just recreate. If we look in the arrays section, we can just see that we have different things that are going to pop up, and we have tables and things like that. When we deal with the table structure, sometimes a tag that's not closed properly in your dynamic HTML, the HTML that you're creating on the server side with PHP, sometimes that doesn't come through correctly, and you're going to get browser rendering issues. Maybe you're trying to do too much. Maybe you have an infinite loop, for example, and you can run into problems. You can also get rendering problems, which can cause issues when you're dealing with the JavaScript that's created from PHP, so you have to be very, very careful about that. If you look at the source here, I think we have that at the bottom. We do have some JavaScript all the way at the bottom that's going to set these form variables, as you can see here. Some of these are going to get set when we come into the page, and you know what? If you don't do something right here, you can get errors here. And these can be considered rendering errors because you're rendering this JavaScript so it can be presented in the client side, but it really becomes client-side JavaScript syntax errors. So you get a double whammy there. But if you do something that puts in something that's not an integer, for example, you're not going to get the right value, and that's why we trap that with some quotes there. If you take a look at the form validations and some of the user registration forms, you're going to see something that's very interesting as far as creating JavaScript. Just be careful when you do that. That's something to look out for. It can be really cool to be able to do all of that processing, creating HTML, creating fancy tables, creating JavaScript, updating hidden fields, for example, but just make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's, and that means you put those quotes where they're supposed to be, you put a beginning quote, an ending quote, and you make sure it looks and acts the way it's supposed to with thorough testing. Because you might test it somewhat, but you don't test it enough, and then some little type of error could creep in there because it's a 99% chance that it wouldn't happen. Well, that 1% does happen. So just keep an eye on it, and that's how you can deal with rendering issues. When your table structures go out of whack really badly, well, you know you have to analyze that. And oftentimes you have to create that HTML first and then try to write the server-side code afterwards. Don't just try to do it all at once with the PHP. That might not work for you.